So without further ado, we have got to the top left-hand side of the map. Our blue Protoss player from Ocean Gaming, Zest. We saw him yesterday finishing up in second place in the Team Liquid Map Contest Tournament. Here he is now in the quarterfinals of the Masters Coliseum number 5. These guys have locked up $500 already by advancing to the quarterfinals here, and they look to increase that. I believe a win right now puts them up to $750 won, and then a win from there from top two, $1,500, and first place $3,000. Big tournament, lots of money on the line, and one of the players who looked fantastic in the group stage is taking down Classic in some very fun games. We have Cure, our red Terran in the bottom right. Yeah, Cure actually looked really good in his group. He actually very nearly took down Solar as well to finish first, but in the end actually ended up finishing second. He has to play Zest in the first round here, who had a very convincing run as well against Fantasy, against Hero. Those games were way back. I casted those back. That was like the super fast group. There was like, this group was like, that Zest played in, was, I think we were an hour and 15 minutes into the stream and we'd already finished 4 best of 3s. In fact, thankfully the last best of 3 was a bit longer. I was casting that when I was out in Korea, so I was actually a little bit thankful for a faster day then, but yeah, man, it was just insane, the speed at which they went through that double Elin group. Zest absolutely just monster moded his way through his opponents. Let's see if he'll be able to do that today here in the quarterfinals. Honestly, I feel Hero and Zest up against each other is a pretty fun matchup. I feel like there's some decent potential between the two of them. Cure showed some really great TVP, as I was mentioning, over in the previous rounds in the group stages. And Zest's TVP is always very scary. You know, always shows up and always seems to deliver some pretty great matches. So, very excited as to what that will be looking like today. Of course, you also kind of never know what you're going to get with Zest, though, right? You know, some days he shows up and he looks absolutely unstoppable. The next day he shows up and he seems to just, you know, everything that can die dies. Every mistake that can be made gets made. You know, he gets supply blocked more often than he should. I mean, right now he is going to get the Nexus finished up, which saves him from his first potential supply block of the game. But yeah, just setting up. We'll see what sort of Zest shows up today. We start on King's Cove, a nice large map. Really nice to kind of get a bit of a macro feel between the two players. As I mentioned, Cure did play some very good later game TVP against Classic in the group stages as well. There was that game. What was the map actually for that one? Was it? I can't remember if it was actually played on. Was it King's Cove? Yeah, I think it was either the King's Cove game or the Thunderbird game. Was like really long. It was very impressive. I mean, they're both very similar maps when it comes to getting up to 3-4 bases, so it propels you into them later stages of the game. Yeah, it was very impressive performance from Cure there, which I think, again, really instills me with confidence about him putting up a really good fight against Zest right now. I really think this could turn into something very interesting, as we do have the Reaper going to throw a grenade down into the mineral line, and that's going to be seeing him going to be able to pick off a probe. So probe will die, and that's going to be seeing that Stalker coming through is going to be able to get rid of the Reaper in the back there. So Reaper going down. So Blink on the way up. Robo Facility dropping into the natural expansion as well. And the Medevac finishes up in the main base. Cure, you want to boost forwards with those with that Medevac and pick up a couple of the Widow Mines already. So a little bit of a drop to begin with. I mean, this is a very typical way to get going in the TVP. You give yourself the 2 Widow Mines across the map. Obviously, they have good potential to deal damage. But beyond that potential to deal damage, you can, of course... I mean, they're just, you know, it just gives you a bit of information. It gets you in the base. It gets you to see what sort of units are out for your opponent. Is there Stalkers defending? You know, do you get to see the Twilight Council, for example? So a lot of information can be picked up here, as this Medevac will be seen by the... Ooh, maybe it didn't get seen by the probe. Maybe very close. Cure doesn't see the third base. I don't think Zest has seen this. Okay, well, the Stalkers are moving to the main, so maybe he did. It was very close. A couple of probes are left behind because, of course, you want to try and just soak up those shots because you don't have detection just yet as Zest. One Widow Mine went off for one probe, but the other Widow Mine actually didn't fire. He just lifts that up and saves it. And here on King's Cove, he can now just sit that Medevac in the top left-hand corner and just wait to come in a bit of a later stage. He has sent the Observer to go and keep track of that medevac as well, so he gets a bit of a heads up if it does start to move again. And meanwhile, actually a hallucinated Phoenix to go and scout across the map. Kyo made a Raven. Now, usually the Raven doesn't come across the map like this. Usually the Raven stays at home. It's used to help detect observers around the base, and it generally builds up into a larger attack where you want that Raven energy to be as high as possible, so you have as many interference matrices as possible. If you want to throw down an anti-armor missile, you can do that as well. Right now, the Raven just comes up this left-hand side. This Observer should see this. This siege up zone is pretty insane. You get to see so much with the Observers there. And instantly, units are on the way over. And Zest should be able to respond to this very quickly. Yeah, instantly pulls probes away. Maybe some target fire. Probably could have killed a probe if he was a bit faster to target fire there, Kyo. But yeah, this Observer just lets him know about this way too far in advance. And so far, all of the attempts from Kyo to be aggressive have been shut down pretty swiftly. He's got a good amount of bio at home. One of the benefits of the setup he's been going for, right? He didn't mess around with much else in the early stages. He didn't even build up early game siege tanks. He just went straight into extra barracks. And that is a little bit risky, because obviously without siege tanks, etc., you're a lot weaker defensively. But again, it gives him a ton of bio to push across the map with as he starts a third command center ahead of this push across. And he's going to have stim combat shields and +1. No double engineering bay either. Just the +1 attack for the moment here. And he is going to strike just before 1-1 upgrades of Zest. And if you can make something happen in that little period where he has 1-0 and Zest is 0-0, there's some potential for this because, again, large bio army. You can get stuff done as we see Medevac actually dropped Widow Mines off on its way out there. 2 probes go down. Zest was able to catch it as we do have the Observer in the center of the map. Keeping an eye on this. I mean, scans ahead. QS, stim pack finished. I mean, everything's done that he was potentially waiting for. 1-1 upgrades are going to be done soon from Zest. He's trying to bait out force fields. Now the force fields do come down, but I tell you what, it's just... honestly, I kind of feel like you could stand there and fight. Like, the Zealots were already dead, and at that point, I don't feel like there's actually too much trouble. There's 2 more medevacs coming across the map. 1-1 upgrades are going to finish up now, so this trade isn't going to look as easy as it did before. But obviously, you're going to start pulling Zest around a little bit with this drop into the natural expansion. So here we go, Stalkers press forwards. We're going to save the bio. Honestly, we'll just push those back again. That drop coming in. Widow Mine. Actually, I think just blew up on the bio unit, so the bio taking a lot of hits there. More Zealots to deal with this. The auto turret now comes in on the left side as well, so trying to help out this position. This drop will not achieve much though, and it's definitely not pulled units away from the right-hand side, which has allowed then Zest to just jump on this army as well, and now chasing this down while the medevacs are boosting away. The Stalkers have already blinked, so they will get out alive, the medevacs. Yeah, this didn't go as well as I think Kyo was hoping for. I think this didn't go really that well for him at all. Alright, so bio hanging out in the center. +2 attack, +2 armor on the way up. And getting this ready to go. The Immortal, again, just about halfway done at the moment. As you see the units continue to gather together in the center. More Marines and Marauders pressing across towards the upper left-hand side. 2 more Widow Mines coming across as well. SCVs mining away on the third base. That is what Kyo got set up behind all of this. He still holds a 30 army supply lead, which is nice, but Zest is kind of getting into that point where he's on his way towards 2-2 upgrades against just 1-1. Let's see how this fight goes, because it does feel Kyo has a lot right now. Anti-armor missile only hits the Immortal. Oh, weird. Kyo's going to actually push through because Zest is kind of splitting himself in 2 different directions. Let's see the Immortals now coming in a little bit late to this fight initially. Widow Mine's blowing up the Zealots. There's not a lot to tank at the moment, and I think Kyo is just going to overrun Zest. Right now, I mean, the power of his macro really is what would kind of make this happen, right? I mean, he just had so much for the second wave of this attack, and Zest is just going to fall down. I mean, GG is called. Kyo just pushes through to victory. Very impressive performance from Kyo. Just boom, just like that. Easy, no problem. And with that said, we can jump into game number 2 of this once again. So to the top left-hand side, our blue Terran, who does take a very fast, quick lead up 1-0. On the top left-hand side, it is Kyo. And at the bottom right, our red Protoss player, Motion Gaming. It's Zest. Just a quick regame here. We have got our server set to Korea. Should make things a little bit more even for the 2 players here, of course. I mean, they're obviously both in Korea, so it doesn't make sense for them to play over on the Taiwanese server. I wonder what the difference is in lag. Because actually, I only have like a 30 ping difference between Korea and Taiwan, which is obviously pretty substantial. Which I mean, my lag overall is pretty substantial, but that difference doesn't seem too crazy. So I wonder if there really is like a huge difference between Korea to Taiwan, because a lot of it isn't necessarily how close you are, as much as it's also just the routing and, you know, how the connection gets over there. So, yeah. Yeah, SCV just chasing after this probe as the Reaper drops down from Cure in the main base, so getting the Reaper up and running in the early stages. But Nexus is coming in on the natural expansion, and the SCV of Cure will continue its way down to the bottom right to get started here. So, SCV down the bottom right hand side. Meanwhile, the Cybernetic Core going to finish up from Zest in the main, so that's going to be completing. Meanwhile, also the Nexus. I mean, everything just very standard here on Thunderbird. Again, kind of King's Cove Thunderbird as the 1-2 kind of in a series. It's just so... It just says that both players are very happy to play a bit of a longer game, etc. Now, here on Thunderbird, Kira will probably have to go for a bit of a different style because there's only this single ramp. So, I guess in the last game he only ever really pushed up one ramp as well, but there's only really one way to push into, and it's very hard to then pull the Protoss apart on 3 bases. I guess if you're dropping in, though, I guess it has a similar effect. And then obviously when you go up to 4 bases, it has a similar effect as well. What is very noticeable on this map is the 4 bases become, or the 5 bases become very far apart, whereas on King's Cove, you essentially have like a 4th base here and the 5th base here. So you're essentially like dragging this base all the way over this way. And that actually makes a big difference in terms of how powerful the Terran drop play can be, and how powerful the Terran multitasking can be when they try and pull the Protoss players around a little bit on those higher number of bases. And it means it's just more difficult to get to a higher base count for the Protoss, which obviously makes their game in general a lot more difficult. This Adept Shade will cancel. 2 S3s coming down to the low ground. There's actually a 3rd CC building up as well, by the way. Did the Adept see that? Not yet. Good Reaper raise. Obviously really wants to deny this. Does lose one more SCV, unfortunately. There's the Twilight Council coming up in the main base. 2 more gateways dropping down as well. Again, just that engineering bay building up right now on this main base. Again, that engineering bay up and running. The 3rd CC about to finish up as well. Very fast stim from Kira then obviously off of this. So, talking about playing a different style, but with the 3 CCs super fast, he's just going to go straight into bio as well. Not even going for like a siege tank defensively or anything. And he's going to be up against a good few Adepts. So 6 Adepts moving across the map here. Now, there's only really going to be these Marines to deal with this. You generally will probably have to pull the SCVs in to help fight this, but I think if you pull the SCVs in quick enough, this is probably going to be okay, because actually it is a lot of Marines that are starting to come out. Because he hasn't messed around with any factory production or anything, he's got actually a very good number of Marines here, so as long as Kira raises those depots, he's going to be able to jump straight on these Adepts. Doesn't even need to pull the SCVs, actually. And Zest is going to get turned around very quickly here as these Marines press forwards. There's already 3 Adepts down. The 3 Adepts going to try and shade up to the high ground now, but not quite going to make it up there. And these Marines pulling back. Another few coming down the ramp as well. And Zest is again going to be kept at bay. With a bunker coming down for Kira here in the front of the natural. Another raise on the depots, and again, just Kira playing very well so far. I just think as well the fact that he opens 3 CCs and Zest opens a bit more aggressively and isn't able to find anything puts Kira into such an amazing position, because very shortly this 3rd CC moves out over here, and then you're just mining off 3 bases right away. Zest is starting to build that 3rd Nexus, but we know that Protoss players like to have that 3rd Nexus up a lot sooner than the Terrans have their 3rd command center up and running. So that really kind of just puts Kira into a position where I feel like 2 or 3 minutes down the line now, his army supply is going to absolutely explode. Like, he's all of a sudden going to have so many units in play. It's going to get pretty crazy as we do see the Adepts getting turned away by those Marines coming towards the ramp. Another couple Marines coming through. And as the 3rd CC lifts off again, it will relocate itself over to this right side. The Adept's going to hide behind this line of sight block. The Marines actually will find them, and the Adept's obviously kind of tucked in a corner here, so there's no way out. Zest has lost so many early game units. However, he is coming into the center of the map now with a bunch of Stalkers. Well, these Marines... I mean, the Marines can actually be pretty safe here if they just play the higher ground, because then the Stalkers have to get high ground vision to be useful. Oh, but they are going to blink over to the other side. That's going to be interesting, because actually, Kira just continues to go across the map. Okay, well that means he's not going to have too much to defend with here. Zest is going to blink over here and then move in for some SCV kills, even maybe the orbital command if he feels like he has the time. Here pulling some of the units down. Again, these Marines pressing forward. Zest did add on another pylon. He's got a cannon and a shield battery, so not much to be done here. These two observers kind of doing the same job. Yeah, it looks like he recalled the Stalkers as well. No, no way did he lose all those Stalkers. No, Zest! No, he didn't. He did recall them. And he just couldn't find them anywhere. Well, now Kyo's going to lose this chunk of army, and that was obviously a very weird position. I didn't mind the Marines coming out to deal with the Adepts, but then when it was, when he noticed Blink was up, I guess there's no easy way for him to get back home, but yeah, very weird little scenario. So Zest again did recall those Stalkers back home. I was going to say, like, when I couldn't find them for a moment, I was like, wait, well, they couldn't have died, right? Like, there's no way Zest just let them all die. Yeah, Kyo's still in a very good spot because he's had that good economy. So yes, he's lost a lot early on, a lot more than maybe he wanted to, but he still has a decent amount going for him. Just imagine he has all of those Marines that didn't die. I mean, again, he picked off 3 Adepts, but the 3 Adepts are very, not so useful anymore anyways, right? Because you're at that stage of the game where it's 3 Adepts without any upgrades. The best they're going to do is they're going to sneak into a mineral line and kill some workers, which yeah, sure, it can be annoying, but in terms of a straight-up army fight, Kyo much rather would have kept those Marines alive. I guess maybe you could argue it forced the Stalkers home, but it's a very expensive way, considering, again, if the Marines are also just at home, they would have been able to kind of force the Stalkers home just with reinforcements as well. So, yeah, very weird little move out, but alas, we do have 4 medevacs heading down to the bottom side. Looks as though Zest has a pretty good idea about it. The scan from Kyo very good. Gets to see the Stalkers moving into position. So a lot of, oh, that's an unfortunate scan. The Observer's actually right here. There's a couple of Adepts over here now in the Warp Prism, so a few new Adepts being brought in as Zest looks for some damage cure. Is he, I mean, there's a 4th base on the far right-hand side. If Kyo walks all the way up there, I would be absolutely amazed. He is outside of Observer Vision at the moment, so Zest's army maybe a little out of location as we do see this drop into the back of the Natural. Immediately some Zealots will start to warp in. The Stalkers blink through pretty quickly as well. I believe the Widow Mines, I mean, a couple of them I think got burrowed, but nothing too crazy. He gets a kill on a warping in unit. As he boosts up this right side, he will run past this 4th Nexus. That should be a kill, actually. This is quite nice, because Zest was obviously trying to get away from 4th base a bit hidden away here. You're not going to let that happen. He's now building into Liberators, not slowing down for 2-2 upgrades either. And Zest, well, he does have Colossus in his army, so Zest's standing army becomes that little bit stronger. He has to relocate the 4th base back more towards a normal position now. But Kyo already, again, with Liberators on the way up, he's even getting the Ghost Academy too. He's getting into the later stages. He's getting ready to fight against Zest's composition here. He doesn't seem to be too worried about it. Command center between the Natural and the 3rd base. And as you have the, again, 4 bases of Zest looking pretty good here at the moment. The Bio Army down the left-hand side. So Kyo's still just trying to stay active on the map, obviously trying to get kind of in 2 different places at the same time. Again, back at home, I mean, he is building up Liberators and so on. Where are those Liberators actually gotten to? I don't see them in an army. So I'm just wondering where they're at. Okay, they're actually up at the top side looking to deflect a Warp Prism. And a little bit of an army to the left side. You gotta be a little bit careful here, because if these Stalkers come blinking after you, then you kind of have to fight or lose a lot of units. Again, just poison on 2 sides. I mean, if you could lift up here and just jump over these minerals, that could work quite nicely. But now there's an army from Zest coming over. It's a large Bioforce, though. I guess with Warpings as well, you become a bit safer. Zest's going to go straight through the center of the map, actually. So, Q is not really set up to defend at home. He doesn't have Liberators. He's building Vikings, but he doesn't have anything really on the ground to fight with. And so Zest's moved through the middle of the map. Q has just been so inactive, although he does get the Warp Prism right away. I feel like Kyo was just too inactive with his army, because he has 2 armies on the map, and as soon as Zest sends so much across, he should find an opening, but it was just at that moment where he was kind of sitting around not doing much. Now he's trying to bring his armies back around. This is going to turn into a very weird fight. He is going to flank in on the bottom side. He's got units on the top as well. He loses the top right fight cure, but his Vikings are going to get rid of the Colossus. So it is going to be reset to a gateway-based army. On the bottom side, this little chunk of bio is doing very well as well, but the Zealots seem to be doing very good on the top, with a couple of ghosts now being hunted down. Obviously, the Vikings not going to add much more to this. This little bio down here probably just has to, maybe go for the Nexus. There's actually Medivacs over here as well. I think Q probably just does have to bring it home then to be able to survive this at all. Planetary Fort is not ready on the 4th base, and so he's not able to use that to help him defend. And I think Q's just going to start losing a bit too much. A very wild fight with units just coming in on all sides, but Zest just had a bit too much on the ground, and now he's going to be able to take down the 4th command center, and that puts Q down at 3 bases again. That puts Q into a very all-in position. And Bio just gathering up between the natural and the third. Still have the army here from Zest, looking to see what's going to happen. A few DTs up to the top side. They have Shadow Stride on the way, so they're looking to be able to blink over this area here and into the third. Zest now just going up to a 5th base also, so 5 bases, free upgrades coming into play. A couple more Colossus being brought on through, and again, this army of Zest continues to gather together. There's a few more Stalkers, 7 more Zealots, warp on in. We have a large army of Cure pressing down through the center of the map. Again, those DTs going in a few different directions. Trying to catch a few of them with the Marauder Concussive Shells just to guarantee the kills. Gets 3 of the 4, that actually works quite nicely, but there's already DTs in this mineral line as well. Will EMP to reveal, that's nice, doesn't have to use as many scans, but there's just so many Zealots that I'm very concerned about being able to fight this as Zest, but actually gets turned away. I mean, I guess he really is missing splash damage in the army. Ghost did a very good EMP on those Zealots initially as well, so their shields disappeared pretty quickly. Has to land the Vikings, has another Ghost or 2 showing up that could maybe EMP a DT in the back lines. Is getting a lot of damage done, has to EMP the DT instead. Blinking forwards here, Zest is chasing the army down. I just don't still think Cure quite has enough. It feels like maybe if Cure had still had the economy running, if he hadn't lost that 4th base, then maybe he actually would have had enough to fight this here, but that was obviously a very important snipe from Zest, and his reinforcements come in from the left side. Because we're going to see some proxy barracks action. Cure throwing down the racks on the top side of Acropolis. So 2 racks proxied here. As Zest is actually being very cautious about scouting 4 proxies as well. And he is going to end up seeing this. So really nice proxy scout for Zest. And he does double check. And you will see that this is actually 2 barracks being built. So what a scout for Zest. What a rough start in this game number 3 for Cure. As he again just very committed to this right away. Zest didn't even go across the map. By the way, this is now actually a couple more probes coming in. They actually really want to shut down these SCVs from being able to build. If you can stop the 2nd barracks coming up, this is really going to take away a lot of the power of this build. We're going to see Pylon starts as well. I think he just wants to watch to see if this barracks gets cancelled or not. I think at this point you probably, you have to cancel it, right? There's not really much else to gain. Let's cancel the racks and, well, I guess go into the factory at home, but obviously you aren't really set up very well for a fight. We see a Reaper. Maybe just expands, actually. High Ground Command Center or something. Because he's going to have a lot of minerals. There's no... he's only just recently gotten double gas up and running, so... Actually, maybe he can afford the factory. I didn't realize the 2nd gas was up as soon as it was, so... I guess the factory can come down. My apologies. I kind of thought he was still on 1 gas there for a moment, so that the 2nd gas was only just now building. This first Marine runs into the main, it's going to do nothing. It's going to scout, and a very, very weak showing from that first Marine. The Reaper will perhaps do a little bit more, but the Stalker's already on the way in as well. So Reaper just hanging out over on this left-hand side. As the Zealot and the Stalker come out in the front of the natural racks. Down through the center of the map. Stalker about to complete from Zest in the main base. We're going to be seeing another Widow Mine on the way from Q2. And again, there is that gateway just on its way up. So Zest getting this gateway up and running. Reaper gets turned away by the Stalker, so going to get pushed down to the left-hand side watchtower. And a couple of gates continue to come up, and just seeing that starport about to complete here. Medevac is on its way in. Two more racks on the way up here, and again, just waiting to see how this develops, because obviously it's been a bit of a weird game. Zest has got an aggressive gateway placed across the map, so he's going to be able to apply a lot of pressure against a, I guess a Terran who's about to build. He has literally 2 Widow Mines, I suppose, going across the map. This is not good. He's literally got 2 Widow Mines that aren't even in his base. Zest has 5 Stalkers ready to fight, and he's going to warp in a couple more. Going sooner would be nice, though, for Zest. Break down the depot and get on top of the siege tank as it spawns. Waiting isn't going to do him any favors, so as long as he doesn't take major damage from the Widow Mines, this should just be a Zest victory. I mean, this bunker is extremely hopeful it gets killed. Not even a cancel. He doesn't even raise the depot. Not pretty at all. I'm just going to already shut down production by picking off a reactor. SCVs are going to pull in. The siege tank will come out, and it will be able to siege. The Stalkers will not be on top of it. I mean, the siege tank, though, is actually going to friendly fire a lot of these SCVs. Okay, for a moment he actually targeted the Stalker in the back to minimize that friendly fire, but it's just a massacre. 25 SCVs down. On the other side, the Widow Mines get 2 probes. It's not quite an even fight. And as Q is left with only 2 SCVs, rebuilding is going to become impossible. Zest will pick up a quick game number 3. So Zest looking extremely good here as he goes up 2-1 in Turbo Cruise 84 for map number 4. In the top right-hand side, our red Terran player. Give it up if you're cheering on Q. Up against the blue Protoss in the bottom left-hand side, we have got ourselves Zest. Alright, so game number 4 here, and as we kick this off, look to see what's going to happen. Coming up through these slow zones. Slow zones. Yeah, just coming across. Obviously, we just had the Team Liquid map contest, and we saw quite a few cool maps that introduced these slow zones in much less obnoxious ways than these ones right here. So, yeah. It'll be interesting to see those, potentially see what makes the ladder in the future seasons. What's up, A-Move with the 31-month resub. Says, appreciate what you're doing for the community. Thank you so much for the kind words, and thank you so much for the 31 months of subscribing. Do appreciate it. We are actually on 349 subs, guys, which means we're 1 away from 350. So you got that Twitch Prime sitting around or anything, consider dropping it our way. We're trying to push back towards 500 subs here. 500 subs is like a very comfortable number for us to work around and so on, in terms of being able to run a lot of events and to be able to do a lot of cool stuff and being able to very comfortably just stream StarCraft full time. So if you do enjoy the stream, you want to keep it going, subscribing definitely one of the stronger ways to do that. And yeah, always appreciate all the supporters. Bunker will come down at the front here from Q. So getting that set to go. So going to be seeing the Nexuses about to complete here as well in the next few moments. So Nexus going to finish up shortly. And again, this probe from Zest in the top left-hand side is Reaper hanging out the front. Stargate on the way down also here from Zest. Getting this ready to go. A couple Marines on the way up. They're going to be heading down in towards that bunker in the next few moments. And again, Stargate coming through as that finishes. Gives a few options to Zest as to how he can get aggressive in this game. So getting this ready to roll in just a second. Meanwhile, a few more Marines on the way up, and as the factory finishes, going to make attack lab. Starport comes down as well. Marine's going to jump into that bunker pretty much right away, so getting into that pretty quickly. Oracle is just about halfway done here, so again, Zest sticking with the aggression. After he lost that first game, Zest really seems to have just turned things around, and there was a couple moments on Thunderbird where I was like, well, well, maybe Q's got something going for himself here, but honestly, it really feels like Zest is just, controlling the series, especially with that game where he just picks up the proxies right away. And I feel like with this Oracle setup now, obviously he's looking to keep on controlling the situation as well. And as you do see, the Oracle will come in, but the Marine's going to be pretty quick to force it back, getting quite a bit of damage done to the Oracle here. So we got quite a bit of damage done there. Again, Warpgate will finish in just a few moments. There's Magfield Accelerator on the way up as well also, so getting up into that Magfield Accelerator, and again, Cyclone coming through as well. More Stalkers being built at the moment, and as the two Oracles head down to the bottom left-hand side, we do have the Twilight in the natural going to be continuing on along as well. Forge also drops down over here. So a lot of setup at the moment to just get this underway. Again, Phoenix is going through, so just getting a little bit of extra out of this Stargate, but especially against the Cyclones with Magfield, the Phoenix really create a very useful kind of way to deal with this, because now you can just lift up those Cyclones, and then I'm not sure how much these Cyclones are really going to be able to do, because if every time they try and do something they get lifted and the lock-on is cancelled, well then it almost feels as though they're just kind of useless from the start. Charge coming up from Zest on the natural, as we do see again the probe in the middle of the map. Cyclone was able to push that away. Units coming down the right-hand side, Cyclones, Marines. And these SCVs too, so it's kind of a very committed push here from Q Zest. Pylon will give him a bit of info about this coming in. And he's gonna... I don't know, do you want to use your energy on a Revelation? I mean, you kind of know the attack's coming anyways. That goes the lock-ons onto actually the Phoenix right away. It kind of takes a while to come forward with the Phoenix and doesn't actually manage to get the lifts for quite a while, so I think Zest is in some trouble here. I really thought these Phoenix were going to be a lot better at shutting this down, but the Marine Can's very good, and the Vikings obviously help a bit in terms of shutting the Phoenix down as well. Zest has 5 more gateways on the way up. He's on his way towards charge, and those are things which actually will help a lot, because Zealots charging into this army are going to be very good. In fact, they're going to be extremely effective. Really needs charge though, I think, so this third base absolutely has to be sacrificed. There's a stasis wall that gets scattered out here, so that's really nice as well. As long as Q doesn't just run into it still. Yeah, he's just going to kill it. I was just afraid that Scanner was going to run out, and then he just kept moving forwards and got caught. It's a lot of units, charges completed, and Zest is trying to warp in as much as he can. 2 more gates are about to finish up. The attack in full force on his natural expansion here. Well, Zest just didn't really do a lot of the early Stargate, and again, those Phoenix initially didn't do much either. And that's going to be GG. We'll make this work. 5, Kairos Junction will be our deciding map here between the two players. To the bottom right-hand side, our red Terran. This is Cure. At the top left, our blue Protoss player. We have for Motion Gaming, Zest. As he heads up to the top left to get things started here. Get things underway, see what's going to be happening. That Nexus dropping down on the natural. So yeah, looking to get things started. SCV coming back down to the bottom right hand side. Reactor does start up on this barracks. Bunker on the natural as well. So just getting this set up and ready to go as the warp gate coming through on the cybercore. Everything kind of as expected at the moment as the adept. So it's moving out the stalker on the way up as well. Just some melee units, so that's really looking to apply some pressure to the low ground, but with that fast bunker, Q is absolutely going to be able to hold on here without any trouble. So no real concerns there. Even the Reaper staying at home to help defend as the first step comes forward. Adept can sometimes play around the bunker, but that's why the bunker's built so close to the CC here. Usually you want this bunker maybe a bit further forwards, also allows for a better surround. But in this scenario, the bunker right next to the CC just means that it's really in range of the Adept. if it comes behind here, then you can get to and from the bunker as fast as possible while trying to keep on defending. So, good defense early game from Cure and Zest. Well, kind of wait for him while he's already placed his tech choice down. He is going to go into the Twilight Council early on. So, nice fast Twilight Council, and Blink will be the startup here as we get this going. Starport in the main. Cure's been pretty set on just this kind of couple Widowmine drop play throughout the game so far. He is going to move out with Marines this time as well, but I think that's nothing more than just checking to see if there's a forward unit here from the Protoss player that you could maybe push back, maybe catch off guard and, you know, kill it before it kites away or so. So again, this medevac is just about halfway done, and again, expecting that to pick up those couple Widowmines. Tech lab on the factory behind this as well. And there's the robot facility sets up from Zest. Well, back at, you know, on this side, it's just a very typical startup, right? Again, getting that blink up. We've seen this setup before. I wonder what Kyo goes to for this 5th game now. I mean, obviously he has had some success in that first game with the bio play, just being very aggressive. This is a decent map to be aggressive on continuously as well because of the low ground kind of lack of a ramp into the natural. So if you can already get up to this low ground, if you get up here already, you can push forwards very easily. And if you build tanks, you can obviously be very aggressive. These structures are very exposed to siege tank play, so that's something you have to be careful of. Here's this Widowmine drop. First Widowmine. Ooh, does just get a burrowed there. Oh, that's actually really nice. 3 probes, a Stalker, and an Adept. That's a really good set of kills on the Widowmines. As the medevac gets a full boost around the main base as well, so full scout here, and gets to go see everything that's going on. Now there is units that are going to try and catch the medevac. Stalkers will blink, and it will go down. Obviously one of the negatives of not just sending the medevac straight home, but it's nice play by Zest to be able to catch that. And I think Q is quite happy to give it up. I mean, you don't want to lose it, but it is a full scout, right? You get to see everything that's going on, just confirmation, see the gateway count, etc. So, you know, there is benefits to having lost the medevac here. Because again, otherwise you could have just dropped off here and then boosted straight down the bottom side and just gotten out of there, and, you know, then you're out so much faster. Hey, these 4 Stalkers are pretty cute. Only 3 get out though, but it's 4 SCVs killed, so actually not a bad little harassment squad at all. I'm a little worried for Zest with this upcoming Cure attack. I mean, it's that same sort of timing we saw in the first game. Stim and combat shields and +1. Zest is going into Storm to defend this, so he's not going to have any upgrades coming in of his own in terms of 1-1. He's got no forges, just a lot of gateways and Storm, but Storm obviously it takes time for that Storm to finish. And he has to make sure he has the High Templars out to be able to defend, you know, to build up energy already too. If them Stormers miss, this is going to be really, really bad for Zest. As this army's going to start pressing across. I mean, the 2 medevacs are about to pop, and that was pretty much the reason to head across the map last game. Obviously, then it lines up with these upgrades finishing when you do manage to hit on the top left side. Well, there's the 2 medevacs again. There's a couple of Widowmines wandering over as well. Stalker's going to be blinking away, so we have 4 Stalkers coming all the way out over to the left side here. And again, a few more Zealots building up as well. And the Stalkers continue to blink back away over to the left-hand side. 3rd CC from Cure will get started up. So again, very similar to what we saw back on King's Cove, where it was just Cure was able to push across the map at this sort of timing, and he set up a 3rd base behind it. It was actually not this attack that won the game, it was the follow-up larger push eventually. Oh, hits a feedback on the Raven, so the Raven is actually just going to fly over here and will go down. Again, Storm is available. Cure kind of sits in the first one. Hasn't actually stimmed his army yet, so that's kind of intriguing as well. Another Storm, he actually does stim his way out of that. And there's one final Storm coming down as well. Is it enough from Zest? Loses some of the High Templar here. I think it is enough indeed to hold on, but reinforcements are about to arrive. And now you don't have Storm. All you have is Anna Archon as splash damage. You have an Immortal as well, but you're also on 0 upgrades, so the Zealots are going to melt because of the attack upgrade obviously goes very quickly through them. There's a couple of Widowmines way back here. May want to push those a bit further forwards. Even more Stalkers being warped in. I'm not even sure about that because I guess the Zealots melt as well, but now you don't have anything to really tank for this army. Zealot's going to warp in on the 3rd base, and the Bio going to press forwards here. Archon starting to take quite a lot of damage already. There come the Zealots again. Widowmines to the side. They're very far back, these Widow Mines. I'm surprised they're not, at least the next two, a little bit further forwards, right? Just because it feels like, yeah, now he is going to push them a bit further forwards. Just because even though kiting back into them is a good idea, even they're so far back that even just kiting into them is a difficulty at the moment, as we do see Archon Stalkers going down, a bit more bio pressing forwards here. High Templars do arrive with another couple of storms, and that will now be another Archon coming in as well. But the Widow Mines get to blow up on a couple more units. And Cura's pressure is still going very well at the moment as he comes to the left-hand side, gets the Immortal. And stimming backwards here, these bio units going to continue to just kite away. Zealot's taking quite a lot of damage. I think Zest is just going to get broken by the consistent rallying of these Terran units now. I mean, Zest hasn't been setting up into better upgrades or anything. Suddenly Liberators are showing up as well, and that's going to be extremely powerful. As we're going to be seeing the Zealots getting blown up here. I mean, this Archon goes down. Okay, you kill one Liberator, another one shows up. The Stalkers die this time. Again, this next Archon's not going to survive very long at all. And Zest is absolutely broken. This push from Cure is very powerful, and it won against two different styles from Zest. So Zest seems to have a bit of a weakness to that, and it is good for Cure to then take this series 3-2, and he will advance through to the semi-final.